I'm Andrew Sherman. I'm a Texas transplant who has always been in pursuit of art as a career. I've played in bands, pursued an acting career in Hollywood, but I found it behind the lens of a camera here in Dallas, Texas. I was born in New York, I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, but I love Dallas. There's a magical artistic scene in Dallas that mostly goes unnoticed to the outside world. This podcast is focused on what makes it so special and the people who make it thrive artistically. If you don't live here, and even if you do, you might not have heard of them. This is the Dallas Famous Podcast.
So who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all grown up? Who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're over us? Yeah, who you gonna...
A lighting director is a photographer's best friend. Today's guest, Josh Gulley, has made a lot of photographer friends along his career, including me. Josh is the lighting director for the band Lettuce, among other bands, and regularly runs the lights at the Granada Theater, the House of Blues, and can pop up at nearly any lighting console around Dallas. Josh discusses how he sort of fell into being an LD and takes us on his journey to where he is today. I consider Josh one of the best at what he does, and it was very cool to get to pick his brain a bit. Let's go behind the lights with Josh Gulley. Okay, we are back. Dallas Famous Podcast. With me today is Mr. Josh Gulley.
Mm-hmm.
LD, lighting director.
That's correct.
Okay, first of all, I push buttons in time to songs I've never heard.
That is somewhat accurate. that's actually fairly accurate at this point.
Yeah.
Especially on the venue side of things. Sometimes even with my touring artists, because I don't always know all their songs.
Right, or they might throw something out randomly.
Just especially in jam band world.
Yeah. Okay, let's start at the beginning with young
boy.
Josh. Are you Texan?
Yes, from Denton.
Denton, okay. And you grew up in Denton?
Yep.
Cool. And then school in...
Denton.
Okay, did you go to school for lights or?
No, I did not. There's not really that many schools for it. It's kind of unless you're going into like real theater world where you're doing fly rail systems and like Broadway style lighting.
Right.
Which in that one you probably go to. I wouldn't even know.
Right. It just occurred to me because on Broadway, like they're doing cue to cue, like every light's on a cue.
Yep.
So are a lot of bands, like I know you do a lot of jam bands, but are a lot of other like not jam bands, is that what they do?
Generally, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be kind of pre-planned, either just push a go button where you know the next go is, or even these days, a lot of times it's triggered by time code through a computer.
Oh, so it's like automated.
Yeah, completely
Okay.
automated. And then you have maybe make yourself a couple of buttons to keep yourself busy during the songs.
Okay. Like little auxiliary.
Yeah, things like, oh, hey, this one turns the colors blue, or this one makes a strobe light happen.
Okay. All right. I don't want to get in the weeds about lights because we're going to get there.
Right.
But okay. So let's back up even. So you were a musician at some point?
Yes, I've been playing drums since I was 5 years old.
Okay. So how did that happen? Like, how did you find that?
My dad's a drummer.
Ah.
So he's, I grew up listening to him playing covers of Pink Floyd's Steely Dan in the back room, and one day he just kind of showed me how to hold the sticks, and then now I've been playing since I've been playing drums longer than I have memories of being alive.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So okay, so you're playing drums. Like, was your dad professional or just for fun?
Just for fun.
Okay. So was there a certain point where you were like, there's something more to this? This is hitting me differently than other people I know. Like, this is important.
That realization didn't come until a lot later because of growing up in Denton, where everywhere you throw a rock, there's another drummer because of UNT.
Yeah.
So that was a later in life. Whenever I kind of got out of Denton, I was like, oh wait, not everybody around you is a 1 o'clock lab band jazz drummer. That's just where I grew up. This is actually a special thing other places.
Yeah, that's interesting. My perspective of Denton would be that, and I like that that's what it is. Yeah. Remember, I first went to Denton for some event, and the mayor was going to be there. And when I showed up, I was like, "Wait a minute, the mayor's an old white guy. I thought he'd be tattooed and pierced. I didn't." I guess there's two parts of Denton that
Right. Yeah. And then the other joke is that I'm one of the 4 people that are actually from there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because everyone just goes to school there.
Yeah, everybody just goes to school there.
Yeah. Well, all right, I get it. So did you play in bands then? Or?
I played in bands in high school. I played percussion in school. all the way through high school. Marched on drum lines, all the things.
Oh, that's fun. I like my drum lines.
It was fun. Then at some point I decided this is not as fun as it used to be. I'm going to go play punk music instead.
Yeah, that's fair. And so, at what point did you start doing a light show or lights?
That was just kind of a weird culmination of a tech theater background and a musical background. I started doing light board operating for the theatrical side of things in school and middle school.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't really ever think about the fact that there was a combined world of the two until, again, much later on.
Did they just like assign you? Was it like an easy thing? How did that happen?
I grew up in the theater with the family side, and then at some point when in the aging process, we all go, "Oh man, growing up is weird. I don't want people to look at me," so I switched from the stage to tech.
Oh wow, okay. I can see that. I can see that. So okay, I already asked you. There's not school for lights. I mean, there's probably like tech schools, but that's...
Yeah, you can go to like Art Institute or like tech schools. I think maybe Media Tech offers a lighting class now.
Oh yeah.
But I went to Media Tech for audio engineering.
Oh cool. Yeah, we had Tiffany Fulmer on. Okay, so you're in middle school, you're in high school, you're doing the lights. I mean, you're also playing music. I mean,
Right.
had it occurred to you that like this is kind of cool, or you're just still doing it because it's something to do?
Still just doing it because it was something to do.
Yeah.
Looked good on a college application.
Right.
Kept me busy, even if like I wasn't busy enough.
But you like there wasn't something about it even in that kind of more mundane setup that like kind of appealed to you, or just is this what you knew how to do?
It was just kind of a natural thing. It was just like felt like it was something that I really had a grasp on. And that's really it.
Yeah, I don't want to embarrass you, but I shoot a lot of venues, and you are one of the best lighting directors I've shot with, and I've shot with you at
man,
different
thank you.
venues. Yeah, I'm not just saying that. And like it's something that I never paid attention to, and now it's the only thing I think of when people are
Right.
like, "How was your show? Like, how was the show? How was the band?" I'm like, "They were dark."
Right.
Like that's the way I see it. I mean, I don't. Is that same for you? Do you still feel that music in the same way?
I can't remember the last time I just watched a show and watched a show. I literally can't remember.
Yeah, yeah,
It's been decades.
yeah. Like you wouldn't go just to see a show, right? At this point.
It really depends on who it is. At this point, if I go to a show, it's usually like a novelty act at a small bar, where it's something like Max Sabbath, a band that dresses up like all the McDonald's characters and
Oh,
plays
yeah.
Black Sabbath songs.
Oh, yeah.
Novelty acts like that,
Right,
because it's fun for me. Because there's almost no production.
Yeah.
It's just a band doing something goofy because they feel like it.
Yeah, and so you don't start thinking about like this guy's not doing something, or I could
Right.
be doing this, or yeah.
Yeah, that's the main thing is when I go to shows, try to keep my own head out of it entirely and just watch. I don't want to critique their production while I'm watching it, unless it's like a large scale.
Right. I can't go to a show and not think about shots or something, even if I'm just
And it
watching.
sucks, man.
It's the one bad thing about
It
working.
really is.
Because it's like we love music, we wouldn't be doing this, and it's like
Exactly.
I don't even stay to the end of the show sometimes because it's like I got to get up and do another one.
Got to beat traffic.
So at a certain point, you must have been like, okay, wait, what was the first band that like was not just like a high school boring thing?
Oh, you're gonna have to elaborate a little bit on what you mean on that one.
I mean, were you doing bands in high school too?
No, not at all.
Okay,
I was
so when was
playing in bands in high school. That was it.
So when's your first lighting band situation?
That happened well down the road in early 20s. I started doing lights because there wasn't any audio work, which is kind of a tale as old as time.
That's what you wanted to do, is the audio.
Yeah, what I wanted to do was audio at that point.
Okay.
Bands didn't come until a lot later. I got a job at a audio or lighting company that did small events, DJs, weddings, things like that, looking for audio work. I said, I don't have any audio work, but we need someone to go put these lights against the walls around the room and turn them orange. I was like, oh, hey, that's something different. I don't have any idea how to do that. And then ended up working, just kind of doing basic scenic lighting for a little while. That was the most boring thing ever.
Yeah, I could see that.
And had just enough experience to later on get kind of randomly hired at House of Blues.
Huh.
It's kind of like a big gap there, but
Well, I mean, I don't think that's unusual with lighting because there aren't a lot of people pursuing it and that are good at it.
yeah,
So
no one knows you can be a lighting guy until you're a lighting guy.
yeah, it's weird. I mean, and I've been around some guys that just didn't know how to use their gear as well, but otherwise, either you're trying to do it or you're just pushing buttons, I guess, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened to me is I applied at House of Blues as a stagehand got hired as a lighting guy because I had just enough experience on my resume from tech in high school and that other company doing wedding lights. They're like, hey, so you're going to start as a light guy. And I had no idea how to be a light guy. So I shut up, read the manuals, and said, I cannot screw this up.
Wow.
And just learned as much as I could, as fast as I could. And
like no one's showing you, nobody's like over your shoulder.
I had a couple of people train me, and
Okay.
they were fantastic. Ryan Vaughn taught me everything he knew whenever I started. I'd go ahead and name drop him on that one because he deserves it. He's not even a light guy anymore, but he'll laugh that I said that. But yeah, he showed me how to run a show and program on day one, and then I kind of still do it the same way he showed me.
Huh. And so House of Blues is a cool place to start. That's a great professional setup.
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
It was a fun place to start. They also have it at the time very old equipment. That's very old is like 10 years old in entertainment world.
Right.
And it was a kind of an awful console to have to learn starting out. And I'm really glad I learned on it because if you can run that one, you can figure out how the rest of them all work.
Huh. That makes sense. So you're doing this and you're thrown into it and you've made this commitment to yourself. At what point were you like, this is fucking cool?
Pretty much day one.
Yeah.
Because before that, I was managing a Domino's pizza.
Well,
So
that's a good leap.
yeah,
So-
I'd left the production industry entirely because of the corporate and wedding side of things. Going, this is boring. There's no love in this. The money's good, but I just hate it. I'm gonna go run a pizza place.
Right. It didn't even occur to you that lighting, like, that's so interesting to
Well,
me.
the door is so closed also in the concert world because unless you already know how to do it, there's no way to get started. So going from corporate world over there, it's like no one's hiring because there's 3 shows this week and we have 6 light guys on staff. Just kind of went, well, this is it. I'm gonna go run a pizza place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also, if you like went to like a bigger like production company, some of those hours are crazy. You know, like I used to do some of that, and it's just
And unless you know they're there, you never go looking for them.
yeah, yeah,
Like a lot of those like temporary install production companies that people do festivals, weddings, corporate, things like that. You would never know who to look for unless you already knew that company existed.
right, right. So, how long were you at House of Blues before you were feeling super comfortable with it, or maybe not? Maybe you left before you were. I don't know.
I'm still employed there. I've been there since day one of this whole concert thing.
Oh, cool.
Super comfortable. I don't know if I ever feel super comfortable at a show.
So it's like that live like thing where you might fuck up, and there's like that.
Always.
Okay.
Every show is nerve wracking.
Okay, that's probably why you're so good, because you
Possibly the anxiety keeps me going.
dude. That's why I'm good, because it's anxiety. It's just like the driving force.
It's knowing that at any point you could just completely fuck it up
Yeah.
and ruin everything for everybody in the room.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot of pressure. Yeah. That's funny. So that's also speaks a lot to you that you're still kind of employed at these places. Like you haven't like left. You just have different places that'll hire you. Right.
Right. I mean, that's somewhat of an anomaly. Again, the anxiety thing. I hate burning bridges. I've burned a couple. They're definitely there. But yeah, I still get calls from just about everywhere I've worked to say, "Hey man, are you free this week?" The answer these days are usually no, but I'd like to think that it's still a positive regard at most of these places.
At what point did you start going to other places to work?
About 2 or 3 years into the House of Blues run.
Okay.
Were
you doing like 5 nights a week at House of Blues, or like?
Oh no, I was doing like 2 nights a week at House of Blues and still working at the pizza place.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I did 2 or 3 shows a week and then 5 nights of pizza delivery for like 3 years.
Wow.
And that was living in Denton, delivering pizza in Denton, driving to Dallas to do shows, going back and forth.
Oh man.
Yeah, it sucked. It was awful.
Yeah. Yeah. But you paid your dues.
Yes.
And so 2.5 years in, where did you go? Where else did you go?
Trees. Trees was the next one that called me.
Nice.
Just needed somebody that I'd worked with at House of Blues. Said, "Hey man, I need a shift covered. Can you come in and run the show here?" Did an okay job, and then kept getting called back.
Was that pretty exciting?
Super exciting because you always hear about all these other places, and it's like once you feel lucky to get hired at one place, and then the second place that hires you, you're like, maybe this is actually what I do.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
this. Oh, I'm actually doing this for like real now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not just like one place that gave you a chance and like nobody else. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. But like, was Trees, or was any of these venues like specifically like significant for you?
I mean, Trees definitely was significant. It was the first time that I'd worked somewhere where a majority of the artists were bands that I'd listened to.
Oh, cool.
So it was seeing music that I knew every day because I'm far into the punk and metal scene, so that's kind of the Trees vibe.
Right.
That was really big, and then Billy Bob's was big for me as well.
Oh gosh, that's huge.
That was my first jump up
Mm-hmm.
in capacity versus down.
Right.
And it was working with all these artists whose names I definitely heard before. One of my first shows there was a giant collective that had everybody from Josh Weathers to Darius Rucker, all these huge names that I'd known my entire life kind of thing. And that was where I was really like, do not screw this up. And this might be what you do forever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so far you haven't screwed it up.
I've screwed up a couple times.
I mean, you haven't screwed up to the point where you're not invited back.
Right. I don't think so. Not anymore. I had to really run that one back for a second.
Right. Right. So you're doing Trees, and then you pick up Granada.
Granada was the last one. It was Trees and Billy Bob's, and then Canton Hall, which is now Studio at the Factory, through Trees, and then Bomb Factory, which is now just the Factory,
Sure.
through Trees and Canton Hall. I got the job at Granada while working at Billy Bob's.
Okay.
And that was where I talked about like burning bridges. No, it's because I had to start immediately at the Granada, like the next day, next show, or else I didn't get the position.
Okay.
I had to kind of like tuck tail and be like, hey guys, sorry, I got to go work somewhere else now. Bye. And that did not feel good.
Yeah.
Especially in freelance production world, that's not a great way to get a call again.
Yeah.
And that guy probably knows everybody else on your call sheet, and you can blacklist yourself real quick. So I got very lucky that it ended up okay.
Right. Yeah. I don't think people think about like the repercussions of some of those actions sometimes. Okay. So at what point did you kind of connect with your first band that you're like their guy?
The first band that like really brought me on, Mojo.
Okay.
Yeah, I was working at Trees. I was just at a house shift. I think.
Oh, that's the show where you guys met?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was shooting that show. That's
What
interesting.
was it? It was Papadocio, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Leland would be like, "Of course it was Papadocio."
Yeah, it was for sure.
Yeah, and then I'd never heard them. That was Jam World is something that I never knew of.
That is so interesting because I thought that's who you were before this interview, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. I don't know you that well. So I
Right.
I associate because that's the first time I really, got to know you was with Mojo. So
Yeah, I met them at that show. Jam World is something that I never really came up in. It was like, Dave Matthews, Grateful Dead, gross.
yeah.
Fish, what, like the food? But Mojo played a set that I ran their lights for them. I'd never heard them, kind of just bust along, and I went up to Leland and Evan after, and I was like, we gotta talk.
Yeah.
we gotta have a conversation here. And that spawned like the next year or two of just kind of going around with those guys, every show that I possibly could, kind of discovering this whole jam band festival world that is now like my main occupation.
Right. Right. So then, was there bands in between them and Lettuce?
Oh yeah. I actually got the first call for like a national tour I got while I was out doing festivals with Mojo. Post COVID, and I just kind of looked at it, I was like, guys, sorry, I gotta bail, because we were kind of doing it for the love of it, and I was like, these guys are gonna pay me to do this.
Yeah, it happens.
Those guys were like, go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first. What I would call like the first national touring artist that I've worked with was Wild Rivers, a Canadian folk band, a Canadian indie folk band. So I went on, did a white van tour with them, and that was when everybody's like, once you have your first tour, it's not going to stop. And that is a very career-act statement so far.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, like I feel like I'm like working my butt up at what I do. I don't see every lighting person. I don't necessarily. No, it's maybe not fair to say I don't know that many of them, but
Right.
Like when I'm shooting in certain venues that I know how good the lights can be and they're not good. It's just frustrating. So
There's a lot of folks that may just not know that it doesn't look good on camera.
this is a thing that I had to learn, is that I'm the only one looking at it like that.
Right.
Like the bands want it dark most of the time.
like a lot of bands do. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
So I hate, by the way, every band that's listening. I hate it, but when I was in a band, I wanted that too. So I get it. You know,
makes me think of whenever I had an older country artist. I just kept scaling down the front wash till it was at 1%, and he still said, "It's too damn bright. Turn it off." And I told him, I was like, "It makes you look kind of dead."
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, "That's fine." So we left him off.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my perception is not accurate, which is like, oh, if you're on stage, you want to be seen. It's like, no, that's not true for everybody.
That's how I ended up in tech.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there was one band, I won't say the name, and it was at the old Sundown before they redid the lights. Mm-hmm. And there were black spots on the stage. And so he was in one, and I was like, hey, man, before the show, I was like, can you scooch over that way for the light? And he's like, he looked at me and just walked into the dark even further. I was like, I guess there's no photos of the bass player tonight. But so how did Lettuce come about?
Wow. That one's kind of just phone rang, man. Where was I? I think I was just like driving home from the Granada, and a good friend of mine, Rob, he was their old LD, and I got a call from him. I'm pretty sure it was verbatim, like, "Hey man, you're about to get a call from Lettuce Management, and I figure you'd be really pissed if I didn't call you first." So he was a friend of mine for years that I've met working as a house guy at House of Blues. And my name had come up across a couple of different folks that had recommended me that had very little ties to each other. So it was kind of just an instant bring them on.
Wow. They hadn't seen you at Granada, or?
Nope.
Interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't like, we've seen this guy's shows and they're awesome. It was just like, this guy's got a good recommendation. Bring them on, see if sink or swim.
Yeah. They seem like pretty down to earth guys too. So.
They are, man.
Yeah.
They're good guys.
I mean, I've interacted with them just a little bit, but and so how long have you been doing that?
Coming up on just coming up on a year.
Okay, that's the biggest band you're traveling with right now.
That's a matter of opinion, isn't it?
Okay, well, who else? Who else am I missing?
I was doing Glassjaw for a little while. I've got some upcoming stuff that I can't say quite yet. Kind of tied into that. Mm-hmm. And then, but yeah, other than that, Lettuce for sure is the largest artist that I'm working with.
Awesome.
My first artist that I worked with, Wild River, is doing the White Van. They're about to go out doing an arena opener for the Chicks.
Oh, wow. That's a big deal.
We've since parted ways on that one, which is somewhat unfortunate, but I completely understand. But yeah, the largest artist is, you never know.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I guess I mean in the moment we're speaking of.
Then yeah, Lettuce.
Yeah. Right. Right.
That's just kind of a callback to support local bands, because you never know who's going to blow up one day.
Oh, absolutely. Like last night, it was Ripe, but AJ Smith opened from Nashville, and I was blown away by this kid.
Awesome.
He was so good, and I was not expecting it. We may have covered this. How does lighting at a venue differ from like doing a road thing?
Venue, you're generally working with the same equipment every day. You're generally working with a console that's yours with your file on it. Sometimes you'll what we call busk for the tours. Sometimes you just get told to set it and forget it for the openers. There's a lot of downtime. It's and it's all in the seat of your pants. That's where the I push buttons for songs I've never heard for money kind of thing comes from. Mm-hmm. On the venue side, you've got your lights, but you've got new stuff every day. Every different venue is laid out differently, and you have to live with your coworkers. So. Right.
Well, also, and sometimes like a bigger band might come through and they do their own lights, and you just have the night off, or
you help them plug stuff in, show them where to route everything, make sure they're good, and just kind of let them take over.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yep.
I always found that to be a little bit odd, but I guess it makes sense. Just
why I bought a Nintendo Switch.
Oh, so you're playing at the oh wow, okay.
All right, man. If you're good, I'm gonna go sit over here for a while and let me know if you need anything.
Hey, you're on the I mean, how many people get paid to play Nintendo, right?
Yeah, I mean, it kicks the shit out of managing a Domino's.
I mean, well, there's that too. That's that too. Yeah. You kind of touched on it before, but like, if somebody was trying to break into this, what would you suggest?
I'd suggest starting as a stagehand. Find any local production company, anywhere around. Generally, major metros. You're not going to find them in like Tyler generally, but find a production company. Ask if they need stagehands. The answer is always yes. It's going to probably pay low, but that's where you get in and start to meet people that aren't stagehands. They're audio engineers, video techs, lighting designers. Then you can kind of pick a path and kind of latch onto it and learn from there. And eventually, if you do enough stagehand gigs, you kind of get swapped over.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you want to be a lighting person, it's best to just... I think that's great advice, because if you're going to be on a crew, the more skills you have, the more valuable you
Absolutely. And if you don't know how to wrap or tape a cable, then you're not going to make it super far.
Yep.
And they'll teach you how to do that on day one as a stagehand.
Okay. They never taught me that, and I never figured it out. So that's why I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
But, do you have any... this may be a really weird question, but is there anything about this that you can put into words, that's like what it is you love about it, like why you enjoy lighting other people's stages, as it were?
It's for me, it's a opportunity to create something alongside musicians that I respect a lot. Be able to put my own spin on something that someone else has already created is it's a hell of a challenge, and it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to say one thing as a photographer. God, do I hate smoke.
Sorry.
I mean, I get that it's important, but man, does it mess up some shots.
Yeah, that's you gotta
compensate. No, I know. I mean, it's
man. The funniest thing about it is that I spend so much of my day literally chasing smoke in the air.
Really?
Yeah, just trying to get it even.
Yeah.
For this exact reason is that photographers hate it.
Well, I appreciate that you even know that.
Well, there was a saying forever where, anytime the light guys would get excited, all the audio guys would go, well, no one walks out humming the lights. And it's true, but we live in a new age where I can retort with that saying, well, no one's posting pictures of your mix on Instagram.
It's true.
So,
it's true. I like to say that every band sounds great in my photos.
Right. Taking that one too.
Yeah. That's all yours. Hey,
no hate audio world.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, none of us could do it without each other, but it's not this. I mean, I shoot in a lot of clubs where the lights just, okay, do you want red or green?
Neither of those for photo.
Yeah. Well, and in fact, I don't really shoot in those places anymore because I've like kind of leveled out, but I love, like, what you guys do for me is make me have a career. Like, I couldn't, like, when I shoot at places where the lights aren't great, my photos are not great sometimes. I mean, sometimes I can make magic with dark, but it's much harder to do,
Right.
So,
well, I think it's more of a symbiotic thing. We help each other out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am too busy to take photos of shows I'm working on to use as a portfolio.
Right.
So if the photos look good, it's going to help us both out in the long run.
See, everybody, listen to that. Take that to heart. It doesn't matter who you are, lighting or not. The photographer and you, symbiote. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Anyway, Josh, thanks a lot for coming and doing this.
Yeah, man. It took a little while to get this lined up. But
yeah, no, here we are.
Happy to be here. Happy to talk about it.
Yeah, and I mean, next time you're at a show, take a second and look at what those lights are doing, because it's not. You may not even notice like how much of that visual is what's giving you that experience, but it's a big part of it.
Oh, if I can tack one thing on the end,
please.
Yeah, back to the how to get started on this. If anybody is interested in this kind of thing, the softwares are all free. You can mess with it on your computer at home. Set up most of them have a free visualizer software. If you're interested in it, start messing with it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing stopping you is just not doing it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Okay. Yeah, because like most people are not going to get thrown into the house of blues and have to like just
Mm-hmm.
And you already had experience at that point, so yeah.
I had probably less than I had said I had at that point.
That's true with most people getting a job.
Right.
So,
yeah, get the software, start messing with it, and go from there.
I know you said you had stuff you can't talk about. Is there anything coming up that you can?
I've got a tour with a Canadian band called Good Kid coming up in about a month.
Okay.
And then I've got lettuce on festivals all through the summer, tours, and then fall is the one I can't talk about quite yet, but I'm excited about it.
Okay. I guess last thing, is there some moment where you just had this, like, everything came together perfectly with you, like a show that you were so proud of?
Ooh, yeah, we'll do like two. This is a two-parter.
Sure.
As a house engineer, it was, and some people, if they're listening, are gonna laugh when I say this. It was a band called Reliant K that I listened to in high school. Got to do their show as a house engineer. It was one of the ones they were playing an album, knew every damn song on it. It was like, this is really cool. I'm gonna do this forever. I like made it into this production world. And then that was like 7 years ago. But the next one would have been the Rady Shell Symphony show with Lettuce in San Diego, because it was the biggest show I'd ever done. It was when I was still kind of under the microscope on if it was going to be a job that stuck or not. We nailed it. It was a huge show, and it was like, wow, that was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I love that.
I'd like to thank my guest, Josh Gulley. Theme song Unstoppable by Celine Narala. You can listen to the Dallas Famous podcast every week on Deep Ellum Radio, Sundays and Tuesdays at 1 p.m. and then again on all the podcast places. Thanks again for tuning in.